Gabriel. And it's also the 108th surah, the 108th chapter of the Quran is the night of power. And it says, would that you knew what the night of power is. It's a very brief surah. And it says it's the night and the vigil and the angel and the star. Now, does this start to ring a bell? A night, angel, star, vigil. Not only does it sound very Christmassy to start with, but you start to look at the Aramaic substratum underneath the Arabic that I mentioned very briefly before. That Arabic is a language, it's a language in which many of the letters are identical to other letters, except for the diacritical marks, that is the dots that go above or beneath. And so, in other words, you have several letters that look like this, sort of a bowl shape, and you have a dot above it, it's one letter, you have a dot below it, it's a different letter, you have three dots above it, it's a third letter, and so on. So the earliest Qurans don't have those dots, which means that the text is endlessly variable. You can say any number of things. It doesn't have to say what the Muslims are saying it says at all. You start looking at that and you start reading it in Aramaic instead of in Arabic, and you find actual Christian liturgical terms that refer to the Christmas vigil that Christians celebrate the night before Christmas, and actually specific terms that are used for the angels and the star and the whole thing. And it's clear that you have an account of Christmas vestigially in the Quran, as well as an account of the Eucharist, the Christians consuming the body and blood of Christ, and he said that this bread is my body at the Last Supper, and so on, and that's in the Quran. But it's completely obscured by layerings over that shift the meanings of several of the important words. And only when you strip that away do you see what's really going on.
In conclusion, before we end, you mentioned translation of the book into Arabic. What is your hope of the impact of this book on Muslims?
Well, I would hope that the impact of translation into Arabic of this book would be nothing less than the impact of the historical criticism upon Judaism and Christianity in the 19th and 20th centuries. Judaism and Christianity obviously still live and thrive, but there was, in segments of both traditions, a massive reevaluation of the entire tradition based on these new historical investigations that in many cases involved a rejection of strict literalism. Now, I am not necessarily endorsing this enterprise in every respect in regard to Judaism and Christianity, but I think a rejection of strict literalism when it comes to Islam would be most welcome, particularly in regard to the violent passages of the Quran. And so I'm not trying to rob the Muslims of their faith necessarily, but simply to try to trigger a large-scale reevaluation that might make it more possible for people who differ in conscience on fundamental questions in this world to live in peace and harmony with one another without one trying to gain hegemony over the other.
On that high note, I wish to thank you so much for your